Do you feel like you're being treated unfairly? This is a common phenomenon in the workplace. This is Dr. Spencer Coaches. Today I'm going to talk to you about why do you feel like you're being treated unfairly? Now, this may have happened throughout school or your family life or in work. I'm going to talk about the work experience because it does happen in family, especially with siblings and parents, and really that's just a family drama. Power dynamics. Well, it's similar in the workplace, but only now professional etiquette is expected. And even in school, you experience these sense of cliques. There's always going to be a group of people that start to click together, seem to outperform other people, and seem to want to stay together. They all hang out together all the time, and they tend to not let anybody in. It's like an inclusive group. And if the boss is part of that group, well, you're not going to get the promotion, the raise, or the opportunity. People may be dumping work on you. You may feel like you're working the extra hours while your coworker isn't. And that's just, it's offending. It feels unfair. Why me? There's a real victim mentality woven into that. I'll share with you a story because this happened to me, my first salary position job, we'll call it that. You all know that first job that you've had. You remember back in those days? Well, I was the early guy. I came in, this is roughly, 2002 I started, and we'll fast forward to 2007, 5 years later. And I'm still the new guy. I'm the one coming in at 7 a.m., and I'm working until about 7 p.m. Meanwhile, Robert comes in at 8 a.m., leaves at 3 p.m., and Rick comes in at 9 a.m. and leaves at 1 p.m. You know, when I first started, it's with Steve R. Davis Associates, and I got hired to transport orthopedic prosthetic implants to over 150 hospitals. I drove roughly 50,000 miles a year, a lot of driving. And I was the early guy in case any surgeries or there were any emergency deliveries that need to be made early. Usually I didn't start my actual driving, till about 8 or 9 o'clock when the office people came in and they started putting together the orders. But when I found myself working from 7 to 7 and the other guys taking off at 4 o'clock and 1 o'clock, I was supposed to work from 7 to 4. Instead, I'm working from 7 to 7. And at first, I'm like, well, I'm the new guy. I got to, the initiation in, you know what I mean? Got to take the grunt, do the grunt work. Drive during rush hour traffic. That's what they call it in the New York tri-state area. In the West Coast, it's called peak hour traffic. And it sucks driving in that traffic. But I just learned to say, you know what? If I'm going to be stuck on the road, I'm going to have a nice sound system. Got myself a nice head unit, a nice subwoofer, changed out to stock speakers, and had a really nice sound system set up. I'm going to enjoy myself while I work, so heck, what is there to complain about? Make the best of the situation. That carried me over for many years. From 2002 I left in 2009. I left in 2007. So I just suddenly woke up one day, roughly 2006. I start to realize, why am I still working 12-hour days? And Rick and Rob's in the bar at 5 o'clock, already drunk, which means he's been there for at least an hour to 2 hours. Rick, you don't hear from him after 1 o'clock. He's gone. And I'm the one left with all of these late deliveries. I just sucked it up and did it. But what I did was transform that into opportunity. And here's what I mean. I got a raise while the other guys didn't. Rick was working there about 15 years longer than I have. Rob got me the job, yet none of those guys got a raise, and I did. So I used that unfair treatment, being doing the grunt work, and got a raise out of it. And that's how I transformed it. And I stopped complaining about it, and I started just having the intention of contributing, of benefiting the company that I work for, utilizing the skills that I have. And that was my sole intent. I stopped trying to be everybody's friend and started contributing. What can I do to help improve the circumstance? Besides, it didn't matter if I had to drive more, I got reimbursed for the gas. It wasn't an expense to me, it was an expense to my vehicle. I mean, certainly I had to pay that. But in the long run, I got healthcare insurance out of it, while Rick and Rob didn't. And they complained. They found out I got the benefit, and they came up to me, and Rick came up to me, and they said, you know, you got a problem with Steve. Take it up with Steve, not with me. Rob's like, I got you the job. I said, yeah, well, if you got a problem with Steve, you take it up with Steve, not with me. Do I owe you a raise or something? Where's a raise? Does it say I owe you a raise on my forehead? Like, why are you talking to me about it? And they're, I go, it don't matter. You can do that all you want. You can have a lousy attitude. It's not going to affect my life. I stopped feeling obligated to them. I created agreement with the boss and with the other sales reps. Because I did extra work for them, they'd kick me down some extra cash in hand. I turned that being treated unfairly, taking up more work and having more responsibility, and turned it into an opportunity. In fact, eventually I grew up. During that time, when I started to contribute, I developed a maturity. Instead of living impulsively, I lived responsibly. And that's how I transformed that experience of being treated unfairly in the workplace. Now, everyone's work circumstance is going to be different. I don't know what your work circumstance is, your workplace environment is. But I'm pretty sure there's opportunity for improvement. There's opportunity for growth. Unless you're at a dead-end job, like a secretary, a medical receptionist, chiropractic assistant, cashier, there are dead-end jobs. You know, you just can't, no matter what you do, there's no raise, there's no opportunity for advancement, and you gotta just quit that job and look for a new job. Go back to school. But take that job and turn it into experience. What did you learn from that? So how you get out of being treated unfairly is create agreement. I created agreement with the other sales reps to do extra work for them. So if I had to stay late, it was because I chose to stay late, not because the other drivers were dumping work on me, because I knew they would kick me down some extra cash. Who doesn't like that? There are other times where I had to stand up for myself and draw a clear boundary. I was going to school part-time. Right after work, I'd go straight to school. And I would tell them, I can't stay late tonight. I got a class at 7 o'clock. It's now 6:30. I need to head out. I can't do this late run. Sorry, I was actually supposed to be out by 4, so I don't feel obligated. And I don't feel bad saying no. Well, how else are we going to get? You're the only, I don't know, page Rick. He's the late guy. And then another sales would just say, I'll just take it. And I didn't feel bad. I didn't feel like I was the one supposed to take it, because any extra work after 4 was a favor. I made it real clear that it was a favor. I'm not obligated. I am contracted to work from 7 to 4. Rick is supposed to be the late guy. Now, I'll do some extra work when I have when I have the time. I don't have a problem with that. I've already done that. You know that, guys. I learned to communicate what it is I did for them, to remind them I'm already doing you favors. If I give you an inch, don't take a mile. I didn't complain. I didn't get mad. I didn't rage out on them. I didn't whine about it. I had a conversation. And I had an agreement. When I have the time, because I'm going to school part-time 2 nights a week, you got 3 other nights a week where I can help you guys out. Fair? There's the agreement. You got to create agreement in conversation. And you got to remind these people your benefit, why you're there, the benefit that you're doing there, the improvement, the work you're doing. Share with them your wins. Share with them, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. Count your merit and express that merit to your coworkers, to your higher ups, to whoever you think is ragging on you. But if you don't have the merit, if you didn't do the extra work, if you didn't go that extra mile, you've got nothing to stand on except your regular duties. The duties you're obligated to. You can't just do your job and complain about doing your job, that which you're hired to do, and act like you're doing everybody a favor when you're really not working harder than anybody else around you. You never solved any major problems. You never spent more hours in the office. What are you complaining about? You have no right to complain. First, assess that. Determine, have you actually done extra work? Are you really getting crapped on? Is it really unfair, or you're just not used to the high performance environment, to the sense of discipline and the sense of upping your game, stepping up to another level? Increase your standard. If you're not willing to increase your standard, you're not going to get ahead in any avenue of life. Relationships, family, team sports, you play softball on the weekends. Not to be judgmental, but if you're lazy and you don't want to give up certain comforts, you're not going to get very far in life unless you're ultra talented. But even Michael Jordan spent an extra 4 hours per day training while he was in college to make it to the level that we all know him as today. If you're putting in that extra time and you're still being crapped on, then you need to go to the higher ups, your immediate supervisor or manager or team leader, and say, hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. What else can I do to improve my circumstance? Or what do I need to work on? I want a real assessment of my work. What can I do to improve? Because I want to work smarter, not harder. And I feel like I'm working harder and it's not getting me anywhere. I see the other guys not working as hard as me, yet they seem to be getting all the perks. And you can be authentic. Hey, maybe I'm not the most sociable of guys, but it doesn't mean I don't deserve a chance. It doesn't mean I don't deserve a raise when I'm doing this extra work. If you are indeed doing extra work. So first determine, are you really doing extra work, or is it you're just perception thinking that you're being dumped on, when in actuality you're just doing the regular work duties and complaining and whining because you're not used to the work ethic? Or there is an established standard and you're doing more than what is asked for of other employees around you. Now you can take this analogy and apply it into your relationship. If you're being taken advantage of by your significant other, then you need to have a conversation. I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, and you've only done this and this. What are you counting? Yeah, as a matter of fact, I am. Get used to it because I'm not going to be walked on. I'm not a doormat. You don't see doormat written on my forehead, do you? Women don't like a man who's a doormat. Nobody likes a doormat. If you are a doormat and you find yourself becoming a doormat, well, ask yourself why you put yourself there. Perhaps it's an insecurity, so perhaps it's just a lack of confidence. Perhaps there's such uncertainty in your life, you're just doing the bare minimum to get by because you have a lot on your mind. And there's a sense of low self-worth and a sense of self-pity and a sense of learned helplessness. And it can create anxiety, and it can create a sense of, let's just put it this way. You're not going to think clearly when you're in a state of anxiety. You're not going to see things clearly. You could also feel like a victim, that things are unfair, when in fact they are not. So that's how you do it, guys. Create agreement, count all the merits, all the things you have done, all the successes you've had. And don't throw it in their face. Just have a conversation. Well, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. What have you done? Go to your boss. You want that raise, or talk to your team. Say, you know, guys, I'm the one who's doing this and doing this and doing this. What are you doing? I'd like to hear it. Maybe they're doing something you're not aware of, and they just didn't tell you. And you realize, everyone's doing their fair share of work. And you say, oh, I didn't realize you guys are working that hard. I'm sorry. I thought I was the only one working. Wow. You know what? Can you keep me in the loop so I don't develop this false perception? I'm part of the team, guys. Either include me or kick me off, or I'm going to leave because I don't like the way I'm being treated. That's how you do it. Plain and simple. Have that conversation. Develop the courage, muster up the courage to have that conversation. This is Dr. Spencer Coaches. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave a comment below, because when you're feeling miserable at work, the motivation to move up in the company and having one foot in the door and one foot out the door is not going to do your career any good. It's not going to do your relationship any good. It's not going to do your life any good. If you're not 100% committed, because you're actually thinking about doing something else because you don't feel fulfilled in the position you're in, then how do you express what it is you really want to do? How do you fulfill that? How do you make that happen? I can help you with that. Go ahead and leave a comment below. My contact information will be in the description of the video or the podcast. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for listening.